Hey everyone, Ryan Grant here and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be going over with you guys how I basically gained 10.6 kilos, I guess you could say, of pretty, it wasn't, it wasn't all muscle, but it was lean mass within the space of only 6 months. And if you don't necessarily believe me, I'll pull up the proof on the screen. As you can see, this photo was taken around August time. I was weighing 65 kilos. And then this one was taken around February time and I was weighing 75 kilos in here. And yeah, that just amounted to 10.6 kilos in the space of 6 months. And as you could see, I basically doubled in size. So I'm basically just going to go through, the three different main things that I did and that you need to be doing that helped me do this, so you can just basically copy me. So without further ado, let's get into it. So first of all, we're going to go over diet, and then we're going to be going over training, and then we're going to be going over recovery. So enough of the chit chat, let's get into it. So number one, diet. Diet is very, very, very important, and without me considering and prioritizing and taking care of my diet, I wouldn't have gained anywhere near 10.5 kilos in 6 months. Okay, you've got to think of diet. You've got to think of the importance of diet as like fuel to a car. All right, without fuel, a car can't drive anywhere. All right, and it's like if you don't look after your diet and eat as much as you need to eat and eat as much protein as you need to eat every day, then you're simply not going to grow, you're not going to gain weight, you're not going to get stronger, and you're not going to gain muscle at the end of the day, all right, which is the main goal. So diet is extremely important. And in order to actually use diet to gain weight, gain muscle, and get stronger, you've got to be eating in what is called a calorie surplus. Now, if you're unfamiliar with what a calorie surplus is, let me explain it to you, my friend. So it's basically where you eat more than what your body actually needs in order to function day to day. So what this basically means is you eat in excess to your normal amount. So for example, if you had to eat 2,500 calories every day to stay at the same weight, then if you wanted to stay at the same weight, you'd eat 2,500 calories, right? However, we want to gain weight. We want to eat a little bit more than this, so we can actually, we can put on weight, we can put on muscle and gain strength, right? So instead of eating 2,500 calories, you'd probably eat somewhere in the range of 2,750 to 3,000 calories, if you know what I'm trying to say. All right, so you want to eat a little bit more than what your body needs day to day in order to stay at the same weight, so we can actually gain weight, shock our body, so it's forced to adapt, therefore we can gain muscle, we can gain strength, and we can do all of this good stuff. If you're unsure what your calorie surplus amount is, the amount you need to eat in order to do all of this stuff, then I'm going to leave a link in the description. If you just click on it, you simply put your details in, for example, your age, your current weight. It might ask you, your weight goal, how many times you exercise every week, and what it's going to do is basically just give you a rough number to work with. Now, this number won't stay the same forever, okay? As you gain weight, the number that the amount that you need to eat in order to keep gaining weight is going to keep increasing. So don't rely on this sole number that you put in, but yeah, that's basically how you want to roughly find your calorie surplus number. So I'm going to leave the link in the description, and as I said, you just want to put your details in, and it's going to give you a rough number of how many calories you are ought to be eating day to day. Okay, now something that I want to address with a calorie surplus and eating a lot of food, especially as a beginner, I completely understand how difficult it is, and it can be challenging, right? Eating more food than your body needs day to day. It can be very challenging, it can be very hard. Me myself, I've been going to the gym for over 4 years now. I've been doing this stuff for I would say almost 4 years as well, right? I didn't necessarily start eating in a surplus straight away. However, even after 4 years, I still find this shit difficult. It makes me want to heave thinking about it, right? Even I find it hard. Even I struggle to, get my calories in sometimes. And I'm 4 years into the gym. The greatest bodybuilders of all time, I'm sure they struggle to eat their food, okay? It's normal. However, one thing I would highly suggest for you, if you are a beginner watching this, or if you've never necessarily been consistent with a calorie surplus before, or you struggle to eat loads of food and you're not naturally a big eater, which I definitely wasn't when I started, what I would highly suggest for you is just don't make the huge leaps, right? I would suggest you start getting consistent at eating at your maintenance calories first. And then what that allows you to do is build that baseline and that foundation. And then once that gets easier, you're naturally going to feel at ease eating a little bit more day to day. And that is just going to help you stay consistent and inevitably gain the weight and gain the muscle that you want to gain. And hopefully 10.6 kilos in 6 months for yourself, all right? So yeah, that's basically a calorie surplus. A couple of things I want to go on about in relation to, you know, consistency with diet and actually keeping it up is to be fair, 4 different things, all right? So the first one is eating at the same times every day, or roughly around a similar times every day. I've gone on about this in previous videos. However, I just want to touch on it here as well because it is extremely important. And if you're new around here, I want you to know about this information. Sorry, someone's just walking past my window. It's just distracting me a little bit. So we in our bodies, as humans, we have a hormone called our ghrelin hormone. And if you don't necessarily know what this hormone is, it's basically the hormone that, you know, it tells us it's time to eat. And it's basically the hormone that, you know, sparks our appetite and makes us hungry and gives us that desire to eat food, right? And you want to be able to regulate this hormone in turn. And what I mean by that is you want to be able to control when it's, you know, when it tells you to feel hungry every day. So you feel hungry at the same times every day, therefore it's going to be a lot easier to eat food. And when you actually come around to eating food, you're going to have a big appetite, which is going to lead to you, you know, it's going to be a lot easier to eat the food, right? However, if you're eating at completely different times every day, so for example, on Monday you eat breakfast at 8 a.m, on Wednesday you eat breakfast at, I don't know, 1 p.m. because you wake up really late from a night out before, something like that, then that's going to completely mess up the pattern. And this hormone, and you know, the ghrelin hormone isn't going to know when to tell you, you know, when you're meant to be hungry, right? So that's one thing that I'll suggest for you, eating at the same times every day. And I've got another video on that. I'll leave that in the card or the description below if you want more detail on that. The second thing that I want to go over in terms of consistency with diet is actually eating foods you want to, you know, you enjoy to eat, all right? So many people, and especially beginners, get the misconception that you have to be, you know, you have to be eating chicken and rice every day, protein shake every day, you know, broccoli, salad, you know, you're not allowed any other foods, you're not allowed any other, you know, desserts, you just got to eat clean. Especially with a bulk, it's not necessarily like that. With the cut, you've obviously got to be a bit stricter because you're trying to lose body fat and lose weight. However, you're trying to gain weight in this scenario. So what I would suggest for you is sort of, you know, laying back a little bit, relaxing, all right? I most certainly wasn't eating chicken and rice every day when I started the gym. I was eating pizzas and burgers and practically whatever I wanted. And because I was at the beginning of my journey, you know, because I was just starting out in the gym, I was still making fantastic progress. And you will still make crazy progress even if you're not eating the greatest foods. Now, I'm not saying that you want to binge on these foods every day. However, as I said, it can be hard to eat in a surplus. So eating these highly calorific foods that, you know, and people find enjoyable, it can be important to maintaining consistency in the short term, therefore ensuring that you can improve in the long term. And the third thing that I want to go on about, sort of, you know, it sort of links to that, right, is caloric dense foods. So caloric dense foods are basically, you know, portions of food that aren't necessarily big in size, but they're highly calorific. For example, rice and steak aren't very calorific, and they are and you know, it can be relatively hard to eat due to the size of that portion. However, something like pasta and meatballs, the portion size may not necessarily be as big. It's got more, you know, it's more calorie dense, it's got more calories in that portion, and it's probably easier to eat, right? So eating calorie dense foods can be a very important one. So that is everything for diet. So I'll briefly just cover it, the importance of diet. So, you know, the importance of diet to muscle growth is like the fuel to the car. As I said earlier, you want to be eating in a surplus, basically more than what your body needs day to day. The link down below is going to be there. If you don't necessarily know your surplus yet, you can fill in your details. Consistency of diet, you know, eating calorie dense foods, being a little bit laid back and not, you know, eating foods that you enjoy and that you find pleasurable, and obviously eating at the same time every day, okay? So that is 1 out of 3 done. Now moving on to section 2 out of 3 of the video, so training. And I'm not really going to go over too much here. because there genuinely isn't too much. You've got to keep these things simple, and you don't want to overcomplicate things. So I'd say the main thing that contributed to me gaining 10 kilos in 6 months, you know, behind diet, is the second most important thing, is that I dropped my ego in the gym. All right. And if you don't necessarily know what I mean by dropping the ego, it means not lifting weights for my ego, but lifting weights for muscle growth. And when people lift weights for ego, they lift weights that they can't control, that's way too heavy for them. They look stupid, they're trying to impress, they're trying to impress a girl in the corner or some shit like that. And they just look absolutely stupid. They're not performing the exercise right, and it just all goes tits up. Or they're just trying to do, 1 rep maxes every gym session because, that fuels their ego. However, that doesn't necessarily fuel muscle growth. So what I mean by dropping my ego is not doing any of that shit anymore, and, lowering the weight, lifting weight that I'm actually capable of lifting. Therefore, I can control the weight nice and slow. I can give my muscles more time under tension, and therefore, because I'm doing all of these things correctly, I'm able to stimulate my muscle. I'm able to give my muscle more stimulus, which leads to more muscle growth. And that is something that most definitely contributed to me gaining 10.6 kilos in 6 months, all right? And the second thing that I want to go over in terms of training is simplicity, all right? So many beginners and so many people in general try to overcomplicate things and make things too advanced. However, that's not what you want to do, right? Even 6-time Mr. Olympia, one of the greatest bodybuilders of all time, Dorian Yates, talks about simplicity, how he kept things simple. He didn't overcomplicate things, all right? The more you can master the basics, the further, the bigger, and the better you're going to get, okay? The people who try and do too much advanced shit are going to get nowhere near as far as you would if you stuck to the basics and you actually became a master at the basics. Just think about it like this. This is something that really put it into perspective for me. Why would you want to try and make something harder for yourself, right? You want to make something as easy as possible to do and to progress and to improve with. So why would you try and make it advanced? Why would you try and make it hard for yourself? Obviously, you want to be pushing hard in the gym and training hard, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about in terms of routine and exercises and supersets and how hard things are to follow. You want to be able to keep things as simple as possible for yourself. So, just working on the basic things like form, making subtle changes to your diet, the most simple things. And I'm still mastering them, and that is why I've got as far as I have, and that is why I gained 10.6 kilos in 6 months. No overcomplication, simplicity all the way, my friend, okay? So the final thing that I want to go over with you guys in terms of training is progressive overload. And if you're not necessarily sure what progressive overload is, I have got a video on it I did recently. I'll put it in the cards again. But if you're not too sure what it is, it basically just refers to increasing the difficulty of what you're doing in the gym. And you can do this through increasing the weight, increasing the reps you do, or increasing the intensity. However, we're not going to be talking about intensity because obviously my videos are meant for, sort of beginners who want to bulk up and gain muscle, so that's not relevant to you guys right now. So progressive overload in terms of weight, what I mean by this is, for example, if you're on bench press and you have a rep range of 6 to 10 reps, if you get 13 reps and you're performing the exercise with great form, then what you want to do is increase that weight because it's too light for you. And that is what is called progressive overload, because you're increasing the difficulty and you're basically shocking your body with resistance it's never worked against before. Therefore, you're basically forcing your body to grow, right? And that is what we want to do, okay? And in terms of the reps, it's basically just trying to get more reps than you did last week, okay? So that is progressive overload, and the significance of this is, you're always looking to be better, and it's not just good for your, and it's not just going to benefit you physically, but it's going to benefit you up here as well. It's going to benefit your mind. You're always going to be seeking improvement, and that is how you grow. If you stay the same in terms of if you use the same weights, if you lift at the same reps every week and you don't push yourself, then you are going to stay the same. However, if you train that little bit insane, then you are going to grow. All right, that's how it goes. All right, so that's basically training summed up. So I dropped my ego. I don't lift weights that are too heavy for me because that's just utter, it looks stupid, right? If you were if you're in the third person looking into yourself lifting and doing ego lifting, then you'd look at yourself like, what the fuck am I doing? All right. So please stop ego lifting and, you know, drop the weight, improve the form and all of that good stuff. Obviously keeping it simple. As I said earlier, why would you want to make things harder for yourself? And progressive overload. So now onto the third and final chapter of this video. It feels like I've been filming this video forever, but it is recovery. Okay, recovery is something that goes so under the radar in terms of the gym. It kind of annoys me because without recovery and without rest days, you're not going to be able to grow muscle. Because if you didn't know this already, your muscles actually grow when you give them time to rest and recover. Okay, and a way that I like to explain it and think about it is you charging your phone and you wanting your phone to have more battery, right? So if your phone is on 1% and you put it on charge, if you only rest it for 10 minutes and you don't give it enough time to charge, then it's only going to be on what, like 5% or 7%, and you're not going to be able to use it much. You won't have much energy, and before you know it, you're going to have to put your phone back on charge again. However, if you give it 2-3 hours to, you know, rest and recover, and you actually give it a sufficient amount of time in order to charge, then you're going to be back up to 100%. You're going to have full battery, you're going to have full energy, and you're going to be able to use your phone for a while. And it's basically the exact same thing with, you know, letting your muscles recover. If you don't give yourself sufficient time or rest days every week to recover, then, you know, you're not going to be able to get your phone battery up to 100%. You're only going to be at like 10%. By the time you get back to training, what this is going to do is it's going to reduce your performance because you're going to have less energy. You're going to be at an increased risk of injury because you haven't let your muscles recover and they're still going to be sore and vulnerable. And this can lead to burnout, which is just going to lead to you stalling your progress, right? However, if you let your body battery, let's say, charge up to 100%, then you're going to get in the gym ready to smash it, full of energy, PRs on every single exercise, and you're inevitably going to be able to grow muscle, right? And you're going to be at less risk of injury, okay? So making sure you're giving yourself enough time to recover is super important. You know, you hear guys saying rest days are for pussies. You know, they're the actual pussies because they're letting their ego get in the way, and they're so fragile behind this wall of their ego. They don't want to let it down. They don't want to live it down. Okay, so let them pussies say that rest days are for pussies because they are the pussies, right? I just said that word about 6 times in 10 seconds. However, 3 things I would suggest you do in order to help you rest. Actually, 4 things, okay? So first of all, you want to make sure that you're getting a minimum, absolute minimum of 2 days of rest every week, meaning that you can go to the gym at the absolute max of 5 times every week. That is the absolute max. I wouldn't push that. I've done 6 and even 7 days a week, and it's not fun when you sort of, you know, when you have that come down and you feel burnt out and tired. It's not fun. I wouldn't suggest doing it. The second thing is make sure you're still eating in a calorie surplus on a rest day. Just because you're not training doesn't mean you have an excuse to not eat in a calorie surplus. Now, you can eat 100 to 200 calories less, don't get me wrong. However, you still need to be feeding your body the fuel so it can go further, right? And so it can recover. You want to be giving your body the essential nutrients so, you know, your body can carry out the processes it needs to carry out in order to help you recover sufficiently, okay? So making sure you're still eating, getting your protein in is super, super important. The third thing that I would advise to you guys is healthy sleep. Without sleep, humans don't function properly, so, you know, need I say any more? Make sure you're getting absolute minimum of 7 hours. 8 hours is a sweet spot. If you can get more than 8 hours, that is, you know, that is absolutely sensational, mate. So, yeah, that's 3 out of 3. That's recovery done. So that is now the end of this video, right? Thank you so much for watching. I really hope I've got the points across to you of, you know, the 3 main things that helped me gain 10.6 kilos in 6 months. So locking in my diet, you know, improving my training and making sure I'm getting enough recovery. If you want my help beyond these YouTube videos and you want personal access to me all the time, you want to ask me any questions you have and I can get back to you, then I've actually got a free community in the description below that aims to help skinny men bulk and gain muscle as efficiently as possible. And as you can see on the screen, the guys in there right now are absolutely loving it. So if you want to join 180 plus of people just like you and you want personal access to me and you want my help beyond these YouTube videos, then it'll be an absolute pleasure. But if not, then no worries at all. I'd really appreciate it if you could potentially, you know, drop a like, a little comment, maybe even a cheeky subscription if you want to stay around. I'm uploading every, you know, every Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, so that would be, you know, that would be highly appreciated. And yeah, that's everything I've got to say. See you in the next one.